Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and today I'm here with my dog Toad. He wanted to join again, I guess, so here he is. He's gonna be excited because we are again watching Seventh Heaven today, so he gets to see Happy, his favorite dog. So this is gonna be from the middle of season 2, I believe. It's episode 13 of season 2 of Seventh Heaven, and we did have this on DVD growing up, so I think we had all of season 2 and maybe one other season, I don't really remember. But yeah, remember DVDs? Yeah. So we used to have this on DVD, so I kind of remember this episode a little bit more than some of the other ones, but again, I didn't rewatch like the whole first half of the second season, so I'm not really sure what's happened, but I think we can probably piece it together, and we'll see what's going on with the Camdens in this episode. So I'm excited to get started. Let's dive in. Okay, so in the last season, the finale, we saw that Jimmy Moon and Lucy broke up, right? So as this episode starts out, it is a scene at the high school with Mary, Matt, and Lucy. They're all talking, they're all hanging out at school. I guess they're all in high school. And everyone's like, did you hear the news? And Lucy's like, what? And they're like, Jimmy Moon broke up with his girlfriend or whatever. I guess her name's Ashley. I don't know. So they're like, oh, Jimmy Moon and Ashley broke up. I guess like after he dated her, broke up with her, he was dating this other girl. And so everyone's like, oh my gosh, like, they broke up, so he's gonna want to get back together with you. So Lucy's all like, being a teenager, and she's all excited, like, oh my gosh, like, this could be our chance, blah, blah, blah. I guess she's missed him this whole time. Not really sure why, because we all know how I feel about Jimmy Moon. But then it dives into this, like, romantic scene of Lucy, like, I don't know if it's in French or whatever, but it's like black and white and romantic, and she's just like thinking back on their relationship, I guess, and how romantic it was when they went to the movie theater, and like when he put his arm around her, and like just little teenage things, So, she's excited, I guess. So she's romanticizing and whatever. And then she also remembers like how he broke up with her and whatever. So she's kind of like, I don't know. So then Lucy gets home from school and she really wants to tell her mom about this Jimmy Moon situation. And her mom is on the phone with her father, Charles, who was in the finale episode. And he is saying that he's going to come visit them again. So he's going to be in this episode. And she's like, alright, is Ginger coming? Like, what's going on? Because, like, they were still together, so she's like, okay, like, is Ginger gonna come? Like, just asking. And he's like, we're kind of taking a break. So, like, these two, Ginger and Charles, they just can't figure it out, I guess. And they keep being on and off the whole time, I feel like. Because this was just, like, what, like, half a season ago? Where they were, like, breaking up, then they're back together, and he's trying to fix this relationship, like. So anyway, they just can't get it together. Him and Ginger are broken up, but he's gonna come see them. So then Lucy's telling her mom about Jimmy Moon. But I guess in the last couple episodes, there's this other guy named Rod. And Rod is 14, but he has a mustache. And he's kind of like chill vibes, He just like has this mellowed out, like, relaxed vibe about him. So he's like the opposite of Jimmy Moon, who's like, seems more like analytical and like boring. Like, this Rod guy's got a lot going on. He seems like an interesting guy. So this Rod guy, I guess, likes Lucy too and is trying to ask her out, but then Lucy's kind of like, are you just asking me out because Jimmy Moon and Ashley broke up and you don't like Jimmy Moon? Like, she's just thinking like maybe Rod doesn't like Jimmy Moon, so he's just asking me out because of that. So basically, Lucy has two choices. 2 guys that want to go out with her. And I think she's like, I don't know if she's 14 or 15 at this point. But anyway, there's Rod and there's Jimmy. And I think you know who I'm going to root for because we all know how I feel about Jimmy Moon. So, anyway, rooting for Rod. And so Lucy's telling her mom about this. She's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, got 2 choices. Her mom's like, that's so exciting. But her mom's like off the phone trying to get out the door because she and Eric are counseling new married couples at the church. I think there's like 3 couples or something. And they've all been married for a year, I guess. So they do like this counseling stuff with them. So Annie's like, this is so exciting, hyping Lucy up. But she's like, I gotta go. You know, your dad and I, we gotta go. We gotta go counsel these couples at the church. And then her mom tells her, like, hey, Lucy, you need to tell Matt to pick up Grandpa at the airport. And she's like, all right, definitely. So that ends that scene, and Annie's out the door. Lucy's all excited about her 2 choices. She's, like, talking on the phone with her friend. And then we get to our next scene. So in the next scene, Eric and Annie decided they're going to counsel these couples, I guess. I guess it's just, like, for people that have been married for, like, a year or something. So there's, like, 3 couples. And, I mean, we don't really know them. But, again, there's always these side characters. So I guess, you know, like, they're just people from the church that are married. You know, it's not a big deal. They decide that they're going to, you know, that it would be a good idea for both of them to be there. Because I guess, I don't know if normally it's just Eric, because he's a reverend, he does this. I don't know. But anyway, Annie and Eric are both doing this because they've been married for probably at least, how old is Matt? Like 17 years. So they think they know what they're doing, you know? So like, to me it's a little awkward because, like, these couples, first of all, you're sharing, like, your intimate details of your marriage with, I mean, maybe not like super intimate, but like your issues with your minister. So it's like you almost feel like you're being judged a little bit automatically, but like I guess everyone doesn't feel that way. But then also there's other couples there. So like you don't really want all your business in front of like these other 2 couples, Eric and Annie. The whole church is going to know what's going on with your marriage. Like it's just a little, for me, it would be a little weird. Like, I wouldn't personally want to do it. I'd rather have, like, a one-on-one with, like, me and my significant other, and then, you know, the minister maybe, but then also I don't really want the whole church to know. Not that he would, but I don't know. Not that he would tell anyone, but, like, it's just a little weird. So, at first, all these couples, they don't really want to talk, you know? Eric's like, oh, like, what's been going on with you guys, and what's going on with you, and you know, and they're just kind of like, everything's great. Everything's great with our marriages. Everything's great. So, like, they won't open up. And I kind of understand because it's a little awkward. So, the first session, I guess, doesn't quite go how they thought it would. Because no relationship is perfect. So, they're trying to help these people. Nobody's really saying much. And, I don't know, it's just a little awkward. So, that's the first session of the couples, counseling, I guess. And then we get to the next scene, and just a side note, like, I'll try to see if I can find a picture of it, but Lucy's phone, Lucy and Mary's phone, I guess, because it's in their bedroom, is like the coolest peak 90s phone you've ever seen in your life. And I always wanted that phone growing up. I was like, this is the coolest phone. It's a landline because it's the 90s, but, you know, they're always, like, talking on the phone, and, you know, I always thought it was so cool. So if I can find a picture, I will insert it. And then, so Lucy's on the phone. She's talking to her friends, talking about her 2 options, Jimmy Moon and Rod. They don't really say what Rod's last name is, so I guess he doesn't get a last name. I guess it's just Rod. I don't know. He's cool like that. He just has one name. So, Lucy's on the phone. She's weighing her options, talking to her friends about it. Mary's like, you need to get off the phone because in the 90s, if you were on the phone, there was no, like, call waiting. So, they don't have call waiting. So, if she's on the phone, the guys, they can't contact her. They can't call her. But Lucy's like, I don't want to talk to them because I want to have more time to make my decisions. So it's actually, she's like, I'm playing hard to get, basically. Which, good for her, honestly. Like, I'm all about it. I mean, you're a teenager, who cares? But, like, might as well play hard to get, I mean, I don't blame her. So she's on the phone. Mary's like, you should probably get off the phone. And Mary's like, oh, just being a, sister, she's kind of annoyed. She's like, oh my gosh, like, can you stop talking about this? It's so annoying. So then we get into the next scene, and there's like, Jimmy Moon is just they're both trying to call Lucy like she thought they would. So Rod's trying to dial her number. He's like, I can't believe, like, there's no call waiting. Jimmy's trying to dial the number at the same time. Can't get through to her because she's on the phone. So Jimmy Moon is just holding a picture of Lucy while he's trying to call her and staring at the picture. It is so weird. I think it is so strange. I was like, what is going on? Like, why are you holding a picture of her while you're trying to call her? Like, he's a weirdo. So he's doing that, and then, like, Rod is also trying to call her, and he's, like, pissed about the call waiting. He's like, I can't believe they don't have call waiting. So they're both trying to call her. So then, I was just, like, thinking as a side note, like, that Matt and Mary look a lot older in this season. And I don't know, like, why, but maybe they just had, like, a growth spurt or something. Like, maybe they got taller, but I don't know. I just feel like they just look a lot more mature in this season than they did last season. So anyway, Simon is approaching Matt and Mary in the hallway of their house, and he's like, hey, like, do you guys want to place bets, basically, on the whole, is Lucy going to choose Jimmy or is she going to choose Rod situation? And, like, Mary and Matt are like, dude, we can't be placing bets in the house. Like, Mom and Dad are going to flip out, basically. And this is what I mean about Simon. Like, he's always, like, a little bit of, like, not like a scam artist, but, like, he's always trying to find different ways to make money, like little side hustles or whatever. So this is, like, one of those instances where he's trying to do that. And then, basically, Simon's like, all right, well, then we won't do real money, we'll do Monopoly money. And then, so they're betting Monopoly money on who Lucy's gonna choose for her relationship. So yeah, everyone has different opinions. I'm pretty sure Simon likes Rod, which I can understand why, because, he didn't like the way Jimmy was treating Lucy in the finale of the last season, so he's totally Team Rod, and I'm there with him, And then I think Matt is Team Jimmy, but he's not, like, totally convinced because he's still protective after what happened with their breakup. And then, I don't know, I don't remember whose side everyone else is on. But anyway, they're all kind of, like, deciding on this. The whole family's involved, and it's pretty hilarious. So they're getting to the end of the first session with a couple counseling. As these scenes, the kids are just, like, throughout the night, basically. It's the same night. So this like, scene with the couples, like I said, it's awkward. They're not really getting anywhere. Nobody's saying, like, oh, we have these huge problems. Like, they're like, oh, like, trying to get them to talk, basically. Trying to get them to say something, that they can try to help them with. So, toward the end of the session, Annie's just, like, trying to warm them up a little bit, and she's like, like, basically just talking about, like, relationships, and, like, sometimes things go unsaid, and then all of a sudden everything is said, blah, 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 And then the couples, this is, like, the end of the session, the couples start bringing stuff up. I think the one couple, like, the guy's in medical school, his wife's paying for it, I don't know, they got some tension there because he's going to finish medical school, and, like, she paid for all of it, so there's tension with that. And then the other couple is living with the one guy's mom, but then his dad left, like, a year ago, like, left his mom completely, doesn't talk to him. so he feels bad moving out with his wife. And then the other couple is like pregnant, but the guy won't admit that she's pregnant. He doesn't want to tell anyone. It's like weird stuff going on. So these three couples got all these issues going on. So they start bringing it up, and then Eric's like, this is great, but also the session's over now. So like maybe next week we can like, you know, get more into this. So they start talking a little more. Okay. So Eric and Annie get home from the church, and they, you know, they're just putting dinner in the oven or whatever, trying to get like dinner ready for everybody. And then Matt comes down, and Annie's like, so like, where's Grandpa? And he's like, what do you mean? Was I supposed to pick him up or something? And she's like screaming at Lucy. So Lucy, like, in the midst of all her like all encompassing dilemma with her two men, she totally forgot to tell Matt to pick up the grandfather from the airport. So they're all like, oh snap, like, did anyone pick up Grandpa from the airport? And then the doorbell rings, and it's Grandpa Charles, but he has a toupee on his head that the color does not really match his mustache or like his eyebrows. It's like this darker color, and he's got white in the other areas, and then his like toupee is like almost as dark as my hair. Like it just looks really rough. It doesn't even look like it, you know. So and then the dog like makes a sound like he doesn't even recognize him because like he's wearing the toupee. So it's pretty funny. And then like Ruthie's like, who are you? Basically, it's pretty funny. So anyway, he has a toupee. Okay. And they're all just like, all right. So anyway, then there's the next scene where the grandfather, Charles, is talking to Eric and Annie, and he's saying that he got a gift for Eric and Annie. And Annie's basically like, no, please, nothing else. Nothing else. We've already got the toupee. That's a lot. You know, she's like, we don't need anything else. So anyway, basically, Charles was talking about how, like, the cost of burials is really expensive. So he got Eric and Annie plots to be buried with Annie's mom and Charles when they pass away. But side note, I guess, but I know the cost of burials is very expensive, but it just seems like an odd gift to be giving, and this will be causing issues between Eric and Annie with where they're going to be buried, because I guess they haven't talked about this yet, even though they have like a bazillion kids. So I guess they haven't like worked out, you know, exactly how they're going to be doing that. So I just thought it was like a strange gift, but let me know. I mean, I know it's expensive, so maybe it's not so strange, but I just thought it was kind of weird to be giving that gift. Okay, so the next scene is at the high school, and Jimmy and Rod could not get in touch with Lucy on the phone, remember, because she was on the phone all night. So she hasn't talked to them really. And basically, they're both trying to talk to her at school and find out like where her head's at. Like, hey, are you gonna go out with me or are you gonna go out with him? Like, you know, what are you thinking? And she's basically like, I need more time. I need more time to think about it. And like, as I'm watching this, like, Rod's mustache, like, it's like he's trying to grow on, but it's just not quite there yet, and it looks just like almost like peach fuzz, like almost like peanut butter just on his lip. Like, I don't know. It's not great, Rod, you know, like, I mean, neither of these guys are the best option for Lucy, but if I had to pick one, obviously it would be Rod. But, like, there was a scene with Lucy and Jimmy, and even Jimmy trying to get Lucy back, trying to be like, oh, like, I miss our relationship. That's even boring. Like, even him trying to talk to her like that, like, he's just so boring. It's just, like, it's not even romantic. I'm just, like, falling asleep, you know? So, they're both trying to convince her. She's kind of like, I just need more time. And then we get to this really funny scene. So, the next scene is Rod approaches Matt and Mary. And they're just discussing everything. And Matt's like, you know, he's spying on Lucy basically because he wants to know like what kind of decision she's gonna make, and he's worried she's gonna make the wrong one. I don't know, whatever, protective older brother. And Mary's like, yeah, like, are you spying on her? And he's like, yeah, and so should you. And so they're just in the hallway talking about it. And then Rod approaches, and like, basically Matt's like, can I be honest, to Rod? And Rod's like, the best line I've ever heard. Rod says, I hope, okay, so Matt says, Rod, can I be honest? And Rod says, I hope so. Your father's a minister. Which, the way he says it is so funny. It is like, it is so funny. And so, basically he's just saying that, like, Matt's just telling Rod that he's like very mature, because I guess he has a mustache, even though he's 14. And Rod's like, no one's ever called me that before. He's all excited. So, like, Matt's basically like, you might need to, like, change a few things up, you know, to, like, try to impress her or whatever, I guess. So, I just thought that was so funny. So then we get to the next scene. Basically, Eric and Annie start fighting about the burial plots. So, I told you this was going to happen. So, he's like, well, I thought we'd be married with my parents or whatever. And she's like, well, I thought we'd be married with my parents. So it's just like a back and forth thing. So this is like their real life fight going on right now. Then we get to the next scene. And in this scene, it is Eric and Annie. And they're back at it again with this, with these couples. I guess it's the next week or whatever. And they're trying to help them out. And they walk in, and these three couples are already arguing. Like, so they've really gone into it, and they're already, like, you know, having issues. And so Eric's like, you know, hey, let's sit down. Let's, like, start discussing this. And then he says, maybe it would help if we, Eric and Annie, discuss an issue that we've been having, or an argument we've been having. And Annie's kind of like, well, we can do that if you really want to, but are you sure you really want to do that, basically? And he's like, I was sure, but now I'm a little scared, you know, because she knows it's not going to be pretty. So they start discussing their issue about the burial plots. So anyway, they're going to start discussing their own issue, which probably isn't going to be good based on the way Annie's looking at Eric in that scene. In the next scene, the doorbell rings at the Camdens, and Simon's like, who is it? Because, you know, stranger danger, they always have to do that. And the guy on the other end's like, Rod. So it's Rod. And he's like, Rod who? And he's like, the man of your sister's dreams. So he's trying to have game. And also, we still don't know his last name, so I guess he just doesn't have one. That's just, like, confirmed. So he walks in, and Simon has, like, peanut butter on his lips, so, like, on, like, where his mustache would be, and Rod's like, oh, like, you have a mustache too? And he's like, no, it's just peanut butter, and he wipes it off. So, basically, Simon's like, oh, Lucy's upstairs, if you want to talk to her, but Rod's like, I kind of want to talk to you first as, like, her brother, just to, like, I guess get advice. I don't know. So Simon and Rod are talking in Ruthie and Simon's room. And he's like, what advice do you need? He tells Ruthie to leave because they're doing a man-to-man conversation. And then Ruthie makes a good joke and says, oh, okay, where are the men? Which, yeah, because they're not even, you know, Rod's like 14 and Simon's like, what, 11? So, pretty funny. So she leaves. She's like, you guys do your own thing. You guys can do your own thing if you want. So she leaves the room. Then there's somebody else at the door. And Ruthie answers. She's like, who is it? You know, stranger danger. And so it is Jimmy Moon. So then Matt approaches and he's like, hey, Ruthie, you know, I want to talk to Jimmy Moon, like alone or whatever. Can I have a minute with him before he talks to Lucy? Because they're both there for Lucy, Rod and Jimmy. And Ruthie's like, I don't care. I got a lot going on. You guys have a conversation. So she's been kicked out of multiple conversations and she just doesn't care. She's like, I got my own thing going on. I'm busy. So anyway, she's great. We move into the next scene. And so in the scene with Matt and Jimmy, Matt just explains that, like, I'm on your side, Jimmy, but also, like, I'm still a little skeptical because you broke my sister's heart and, you know, whatever. So he's like, you might have to do, like, same thing he kind of said to Rod. He's like, you might have to change it up a little bit, you know, if you want this to work with her. When Matt and Jimmy are talking, Jimmy's explaining, like, the breakup, and he's like, well, when Lucy dyed her hair, because remember, it was because she dyed her hair blonde, or did the highlights or whatever. He's like, when she dyed her hair, you know, it made me uncomfortable with my own passions. I don't even know what that means. But that Matt's immediately like, please don't mention your passions and my sister in the same sentence ever again. This is super uncomfortable. And basically Matt is just telling it like it is, and he's like, no, it wasn't about your stupid passions or whatever you're talking about. He's like, you wanted to control her. It was your need for control over her, and you need to figure that out. You need to work on that. Because, you know, it's not good. That's not good. So, he's like, you need to do something, and you better do it quick, because she's got to make a decision. And at the same time, Simon's, you know, telling Rod, like, you need to do something. You know, you need to do something different. You need to, you know, change something, because you really think my dad's going to want to go for a guy that wears a leather jacket and has a mustache at 14? I highly doubt it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.